Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chai with Us podcast. This is episode number 29. I am Erica, the personal developer.
Hi, and I'm Ivana from Okolo Isabel.
Yay! Today we're going to talk about 3 times that we said F off. I'm really trying not to curse today, but yeah.
Yes, we are. I am drinking a peppermint tea today. What about you?
Oh, I am drinking a beautiful tea that my friend Mariana gave me the other day.
Oh,
It's black tea, like organic black tea with spice on it, and it has a message because it's yogi tea. I don't know if you sell, if you
oh
have
yes,
this in the
yes. Okay,
US.
what does the message say?
So the message is beautiful. It says, "Speak to make yourself happy. Don't speak to impress others."
Ooh, I
I
like
was like, oh,
that.
that's cool. We're gonna speak,
To
and
make
I
yourself
love the
happy.
message. Yeah, so I put up a little bit of soy milk as I always do,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and still a little bit hot, but I think
that
it's
sounds
gonna
very
be
soothing.
delish. Yay! Mm. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm so anxious. I want to know what you've got. I remember a
They're funny.
story. I remember a story that you told when you were little, and I'm not sure if that's the one you're gonna share. But okay,
I
just
don't know. All of these
oh
are older, so maybe you can share the one if you remember that story.
no, not enough to tell it. But okay. So do
Okay,
you want to start?
sure, I'll start. So
Okay.
this was the first time, and I was just out of college. I was working in a hotel at the front desk, and part of our duties were to come in at 3 in the afternoon, and you check in all the guests. You give them directions in their room. You tell them about a little bit about the city. You're there to answer any phone calls. You know how it is. Like you've been to hotels, so you know what the front desk
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
They pretty much solve all your problems. If you want like a wake up call, they'll schedule one for you. If something is missing in your mini fridge or you want to order food, you can call the front desk. So you're like a representative of the hotel. And this is my first job out of college. So I was working, and I was actually working, it was right next to my college, which was funny. And I
Mhm.
remember I was working one night, and it must have been around 7 o'clock or so, because I'd already been there a couple of hours. And this woman, and we'll call her Anne, called that's not her real name, that's just the name that we're going to use now, calls me at the front desk, and she's very upset over the phone, almost like yelling on the phone. She goes, no one came to clean our room today. This is disgusting. I can't believe it. Like, someone should have come. Like, why wasn't housekeeping here? The room is not clean. I'm very unhappy. And of course, like, I have no idea what happened because I'm not in housekeeping, so I don't know. Like, that's not part of my job. But of course, I'm
Mhm.
supposed to be there to help her. So I said, I'm sorry, Anne. Like, let me just check on what happened. And she goes, oh, I will come to the front desk to talk to you in person.
Whoa.
So I think everyone knows what's going on, because I think everyone has been in this situation,
You're
either
like,
working.
yeah, come on, Anne, come on.
Of course, like I'm like 21, out of college. I'm like, great. Now here comes like an unhappy customer. She's here to like curse me out over something, and it wasn't even like my job or my responsibility. Like, what do I do? So I remember that when we do housekeeping, the housekeeping makes each person sign a housekeeping waiver. So like if they come to your room and you don't want housekeeping, you have to sign this sheet to say that like I don't want a housekeeping today. So I go and I check her room because she told me what her room number was, and sure enough, there was a housekeeping waiver there. Someone named Bethany had signed it. So I don't know who Bethany is, but that's the signature on the sheet.
Okay.
So here comes Anne marching up to the front desk. I'm like ready, okay? I'm ready for this for this situation.
You're
She goes
like,
like, I just called from room so and so. I just want you to know that like my room wasn't cleaned. It's still dirty. I want housekeeping. And so I'm like, okay, well, do you know a Bethany? And she goes, yes, I know a Bethany. I was like, okay, well, Bethany, here's the sheet that says that Bethany signed saying that she didn't want housekeeping today. And she goes, oh, that's all she said. It was just kind of like, oh, like, okay, well, I don't know who Bethany is. She goes, so I was like, do you know Bethany? She goes, yes, Bethany is my she's my roommate, so we're here together. I was like, okay, well, ma'am, Bethany signed here saying that she didn't want your room clean today, and so unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. And she goes, okay, and she just walked off. There's no, I'm sorry, I understand. I'm gonna go talk to Bethany to see what happened. Nothing. It was just kind of like, okay, and she walked off.
that's so funny because you were like in your face. Do you know a
It,
Bethany? Do you know a Bethany? Okay, so Bethany
exactly.
is the one
Exactly.
responsible.
That's what, because I wasn't even apologetic. I was just like, do you know Bethany? Okay, well, Bethany signed the sheet saying that she didn't want housekeeping. So that's why you did not receive housekeeping because your friend said she didn't want it.
Oh my God. That's
It was
good.
so perfect, but I felt so empowered because we
Yeah.
didn't do anything wrong, and more so, I didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't my
Hmm.
responsibility to clean her room. It would have been different if she called housekeeping to talk to the housekeeping manager,
Of
or
course.
she could have called front desk to say,
Yeah.
"Can you transfer me to housekeeping? I need to talk to someone in housekeeping." And then, no one came to clean our room. What happened? But it wasn't like that. It was just like attack, attack, attack.
I love it.
But
I love it. I love
it
this
was
story.
hilarious. I felt so good after that. Like, yes, like I didn't do anything wrong. Here, I have proof that nothing happened. Here you go. And she was just like, oh, and she just walked off.
And you're like, F off.
That's what
F
I was
off.
thinking in my head. That's what I was like. I was like, here you go. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I just kept on saying thank you that we had this procedure in the hotel because I have proof. You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
if we
yes.
didn't, I wouldn't have anything to show her to like tell her like this is what happened. And thank God for Bethany because Bethany was the one that signed the sheet.
National were like, Bethany, thank you for
But
doing
that was my
this.
first one.
Okay, so my first one is like such a long story, but I will try
Okay,
to
go ahead.
shorten it up. So I was working at this huge call center, right? So I was a supervisor, and I was doing like supervisor work, but I wasn't being paid as supervisor. I was being
Okay.
paid as the job I had before, like an agent, right? So I was exhausted, working long hours. It wasn't what I was supposed to be doing in life. I mean, I was just so tired of this job. And people told me that they were going to change my contract for me to be like a normal supervisor, like I was being already, and I was a very good supervisor with my colleague. We tripled the the amount of money the company was making. I mean, we were doing such like a great job. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I deserved that freaking contract. So they didn't do it, and I was left with this contract as an agent, actually earning less money than my agents because my agents could sell and earn more money.
Okay.
So it was like situation wasn't good. So what happens after like 2 years or something like that? You have like a contract that renews automatically,
Mhm.
and then they send you to, and then they have to they cannot renew it because otherwise you're gonna, they have to make you a new contract. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what happened to me is that by accident, I received a letter saying that I was fired.
Oh wow. By accident?
Yes, because the contract ended. I was
Okay.
on the limit to have that contract. Okay, so they
Okay.
have to kind of fire me, officially fire me, and
Yeah.
then give me a new contract. So I
Ah,
was
okay,
like,
yeah.
you know what? Those bitches, they sent me this letter, like, what the hell is happening? And so I spoke to my boss, and she was like, just ignore the letter.
Just ignore the letter.
Because of course you're not going to be fired. And I'm like, okay, so are you going to change my contract? She's like, oh, so we have to think, and we do. Maybe the next one. I was like, okay, I'm going to think about this because I wasn't happy anymore. I wanted to travel. Like I was, I couldn't take it anymore. I was tired of this freaking job. So I was like, what if I just quit this job? I do have the letter saying that they are going to fire me, that I'm
Exactly.
fired, so I'm gonna earn money from
Exactly.
the government because I am unemployed. So
Yes.
so I went to work and I wrote a letter to my agents just explaining that I was going to quit and everything. And then I went to talk to the company I was sub-hired to work for. And then I went to my boss and I was like, and then someone spoke to my boss and she screamed, she was shouting at me, Erika, don't do this to me. Don't
I love
quit.
this.
let's speak, wait for me. And I was like, where? Wait for you where? Because I am not working. You fired me. Like a freaking boss. I was like, you fired me. Like, what am I supposed to do? I cannot work today because you know what? I don't have a contract. Even if I had one, that's not my job. And then she was like, wait for me. Okay, just go have a coffee and then come back. But just wait for me. Okay, don't quit yet. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I sit down with her and she was like, you know what? Um, we cannot give you the contract as a supervisor right now. And I was like, okay, thank you very much. You have been very nice to me. I learned a lot from this job. It's been years now. I am actually quitting. And okay, thank you. So I quit my job. I felt like a freaking boss because damn, I was a boss.
Yes,
Seriously. I was like,
it's such a
what?
biggest feeling ever.
Yeah. And I quit my job and then of course, I received the money from the years I've worked and the vacation and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I went to Brazil.
Nice.
For- I spent holidays in Brazil, and then came back to Portugal and started my new one. And I said, just f off, people. You don't
I love
appreciate my
that.
work. You don't pay me. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
at this company, people are receiving extra 100 euros, I think,
Okay.
because of the job, because of this situation.
Oh, okay.
And they have two people now doing the, they have three instead of two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so what I've done was great.
Yeah. I'm sure it felt so freeing to like when you quit like a part of your old life and you say this life that I'm living right now is not good
Yes,
enough for me. I'm done. It is
yes,
such an empowering decision and
yeah,
such an empowering feeling.
and I mean, you're like, you trust yourself more because you're
Yes.
like, come on, girl. I was thinking to myself, like, what are you doing? You are a young person. This is not what you
Yeah.
want to do. Because imagine that I wanted to be like, I don't know, a head, I don't know, supervisor, whatever. I didn't want none of that. So the
Mhm.
sacrifice wasn't even worth it. Like it was just, and I was like, girl, come on, just wake up, just quit this job. And I felt so empowered. I felt like, that I got
Yeah.
myself. This, got me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was
I love
great.
that.
I think it was the greatest F off ever because the other ones were just like, but this one was like the one because I think it was like the first one that
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna take care of
Mhm.
myself and I'm gonna take myself out of this situation
Yeah.
and I'm gonna, you know, value
And you did
myself.
it even though you didn't have anything lined up before.
Oh, I
So like
didn't.
you
Mm-mm.
like trusted yourself just to walk away from that, and
Yeah,
that's so powerful. And
yeah,
it's such the feeling that you feel, because I've done this too, so I know how you're feeling. It feels
yeah,
like you're on cloud nine, like you're just floating and like everything is
yeah.
just so perfect because you just made the greatest decision ever.
Exactly. You're like, I'm the best. I'm unemployed. I don't have any money. I'm like, whatever. I don't care. I am the best. I'm going to go away. I'm going to go away for a holiday. I'm going to go to Brazil. You know what? I'm going to go to Brazil.
I
And it
remember
was, it was great.
when I had also quit one of my jobs and I was carrying like my box, like the box that you see people carrying in movies with all their office supplies, like the
Yes.
lamp, the stapler, the
Hmm.
scissors. And I couldn't get on the subway because the box was too big, so somebody had to help swipe my card for me. And everyone was helping me because they all thought I was fired. So they all had this look of pity on their face on the train because I was just sitting there with my box
And you were
of all
inside,
my
you were like,
belongings.
you know what? I quit.
Inside, I was
I
having a
quit.
party. It was pina colada time inside.
I love it. It was pina colada party. I love it. I
It
love
was
it.
a pina colada time because I just felt so happy because of
Uh,
that. Everyone was looking at you like with their pity looks. I'm like, no, like I want to be like, we should celebrate this, people.
yes. Celebrate the fact that I quit this job that wasn't for me, that I'm choosing me. Me.
Exactly.
Ah.
Okay, so my second one has to do with a guy. He was my neighbor, and we were seeing each other. So we would hang out all the time because we were neighbors. So it was very close. We would watch movies together. We would have dinner together. We would go to the beach because we lived right next to a beach. So at night we would go and sit on the beach, and then we would go do our grocery shopping together. Well, finally, when I confronted him, I was like, "What is this? Like, are we in a relationship? Are we not in a relationship? Like, we need to like make things official." I think you know what's happening here. He's like, no, we're not. And this all happened in front of a grocery store. Okay, so we're in the public on the sidewalk, and he goes, no, I'm still not over exactly what happened with my ex. This, I'm not good.
Oh,
You've heard this story. Okay, I
yes.
think everyone has heard this story that's listening. Ex that they never really got over. They need time, but it's okay for them to act like they are in a relationship and text you all the time, all day long, and go
Yes.
grocery shopping with you and do everything that couples do, which is not okay. And so I remember
Mhm.
standing outside of the grocery store and I got so upset, and I was like, okay, well, if we're not dating, then this is over. Like, I'm not going to be friends with you. I cannot be friends with you. Either we're together as
Mhm.
as boyfriend girlfriend, or we're not. Like, it's too hard for me to be friends with you because I don't want to be your friend. I want to be something more. And he was
Mhm.
like, no, don't do this. I was like, okay, well, this means that don't text me anymore. We're not hanging out anymore. Like, don't message me, don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't say hi to me. I'm just sitting there just
You
looking
are
at
a boss.
I was like, don't message me, don't call me, don't look at me, don't think about me, don't dream about me. I am done. We're done. This is over. And he's like walking back and forth and holding his like hands to his to his head, like, and you see people walking by us and they all know what's going on because they've seen
I'm
this.
so I'm so sorry. I don't want to laugh at this guy, but I'm like, it's so freaking funny.
Because he's walking, we're literally sitting at the entrance of the grocery store. And so he goes, and I'm like, okay, so you're going to go grocery shopping. I'm going to go home. He goes, what? We're not going to go grocery shopping? Of course we're not going to go grocery shopping. Are you insane?
Hello. I just told you to like just don't look at me.
Pretty much in all ways I could think of. I was like, we're done. This is over. Like, and he's like, no. I'm like, no. So I'm gonna walk home, and you're gonna go grocery shopping, and that's it. And so I went home and I blocked him on Facebook, on
Wow.
Instagram, on WhatsApp, on everything. Well, it gets better. So he didn't leave things alone because he decided to make a fake Instagram account and start to post poetry about our relationship
I
together
know
on
this
it.
guy. I know this guy. I know who you were talking about. Okay, I know
Yes,
where this is
yes.
going.
So he
Okay.
is posting poetry, and the poetry actually sounds like he's the victim and I'm the abuser, like that
Come
I
on.
did.
Oh
So
my
he's like,
God.
it's raining outside. I'm all alone. Like, you hurt me so bad. How could you do this to me? Something like that, to that extent. And
Mhm.
of course, I'm at work. I'm enraged because I know it's him. So I'm blocking him on WhatsApp, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Quit with this. Like, I know it's you." And I sent him the screenshot. I was like, "I know you're posting this." And he's like, "No, I'm not. You're crazy." I was like, "No, I'm not." Like, "Yes, you are. You're posting this. Stop. We're over. It's done. Like, stop posting the stuff that's not, it's not gonna happen." And he, of course, like, lied about it. He's claiming that it wasn't him, but of course it was him.
Mhm.
So that was my big F off. Like, don't like message me. Don't, because that's what guys want, right? Like, they want the cake and they want to eat it too. They want the benefits, but they don't want it the terms of it. Like, oh, we're not in a relationship, because then it allows them to do whatever. We're like, no,
Yeah, some people just want everything and give you nothing. Like,
exactly.
why would you be in a relationship if you are not in a relationship? I mean, you're not gonna have like boyfriend benefits and then just walk around like we're I don't know. It's just like some people just have
Who
these
goes grocery
crazy
shopping
ideas
with people that they're not dating? Is my question. Like, do you
and doing
grocery shop with
everything
men?
together. Like,
Do you grocery shopping with men that are not your boyfriend?
not usually not.
Exactly.
No, not frequently. No, it doesn't happen. Maybe once because we're having dinner together. I don't know, but as a
I have
system,
never gone grocery
no.
shopping with people that are not people that I'm dating, because it's weird. Like, why? It's such a like mundane task that you do. You know what I mean? Like, why would
Yeah,
you?
and you were spending a
Yeah,
lot of time together, and like it looked
yeah.
like a relationship. But that's the
Mhm.
problem about some people. They do get themselves into. I don't want to be sexist over here, but sometimes I discuss this with my friends that like as women, we do think a lot about what we're getting into.
Yes.
And men, usually, sorry, not trying to generalize, my experience, and men think about it like later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you are getting into the relationship or whatever is going on, like you are 3 months into, you're like, okay, I'm good. I want to be in a relationship with this person. And
Mhm.
some men are like, after 3 months, I'm like, what? Where am I? What am I doing? Do I
Exactly.
want to be in a relationship? It goes like the opposite. I don't know. It happens a lot. Not to say that it happens all the time, but mm,
No, it's true.
usually that's how it
It's true.
works. Yeah.
But yeah. So, and then that's typically what happens because for him, I became like a habit. Like, oh, here's someone he texts every morning. Here's someone he texts like
Mm,
while he's at work. We're
yeah.
checking in with what we're doing with each other. We're going to the beach together. So yeah, after that, he couldn't even look at me anymore. I was like, good.
Yeah.
There's no reason that you need to.
Exactly. And you were
Yeah.
very brave because it's easy to stay in those types of relationships. It happened to me before, like the person wouldn't
Oh yeah.
commit and I would act like the girlfriend and the other person is doing
Mhm.
whatever they want to do.
Mhm.
So it was very brave of you and it shows like the amount of
I mean, it's
self-love you had the
it's
moment.
not what I wanted to happen, but I just to put into perspective, the day that we were going to go grocery shopping, the sky was black. It looked like it was about to rain. There was this thunder. It was like something out of a movie. It was like this dun 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 dun.
Yes, yes. And you were like, let me
And
get
then we had this
myself out of
confrontation in
here.
front of the grocery store, and people were just walking by, and they like would look at each other with sympathetic looks because everyone knows what was happening.
Oh my God. That's
And I remember
terrible.
like I walked home and I called my friend and I cried, of course, because it was upsetting.
Of
But
course.
that was, you're right. It was very brave to do that decision because you're right. I could have just gone on and let things go on like they would have and not said anything. But that would not have made me happy because it
No.
would have just been living in this limbo. And
Hmm.
so many of us like don't are just same thing with quitting your job, right? Like a lot of times like you can just suck it up and say like, oh, I need the money, and you're not willing to quit the job because it's security, but at the same time it's eating at your soul, like bit by bit every morning that you wake up it's like something is taking a chunk out of your heart and it's like
That's true.
leaving. It's such
Yeah,
a like you feel like somebody's choking you every morning, if that makes any sense.
exactly. And then when you make those difficult decisions, you feel lighter all of a sudden.
Exactly,
You
you
can feel
absolutely do.
you can feel sad, but you feel like you just
Like a
you're
weight
just
has been
light.
lifted off your shoulders.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Wow.
Very true.
Love it. Okay, my number two is also related to a relationship.
Okay.
So I spoke about this relationship before. This boyfriend I had, and that we moved to the Canary Islands together, right? So our relationship was in a very, weird place. We know we had to end the relationship, but no one would take the step because, we loved each other, we
Mhm.
respected each other, but it was just like it wasn't going anywhere. We wanted different things. So I was working in an island in Lanzarote, and then he was looking for a job, and then he went to another island while we were in this tricky situation. So we were apart. He was in one island, and I was in a different island working, and he was looking for work on another island. And the island is Fuerteventura. It's just like beach and everything. It sounds wonderful, but I didn't want to go to another only touristy place.
Yeah.
And I knew that I didn't want that life for myself. So I researched another islands. I spoke to different people about what they think because I wasn't happy in Lanzarote. For me, it was just like terrible time, and I know that I needed to move. So the moment I said F off was when I decided to come to Tenerife by myself.
Okay.
I said, you know what? I am going to do this no matter what. If we end our relationship, we end our relationship. If we stay together, we stay together in Tenerife. But I was like, you know what? I am not going to walk around. I am not going to live in somewhere that I don't want to live in. I want to try to build a life. And I said, you know what? I will do this. And if you want to come, then you come. If you don't want to come, then you don't come. And
Mhm.
I just put everything in the hands of destiny, fate,
Yeah.
universe. And you know what? It's so interesting because during those times I started to get very spiritual. And I remember
Mhm.
being on the floor of my apartment, tiny apartment, no windows, the
Wow.
walls painted green, like
Okay.
very horrible green, And I was
Yeah.
laying down in this apartment. I was like, universe, please help me, And I was kind of feeling the energies and and I was
Mhm.
on the floor, like to really be connected.
Mhm.
So I made this decision. I said, you know what, F off, because I mean, there's nothing here for me. And if this
Mhm.
relationship is going to end, well, then I better just do something for my life,
Mhm.
because at the moment I had nothing. You know, when you move to a different country with your boyfriend, with your partner, it's all you've got. You have got nothing
Right.
else.
Yeah.
And he was all I've got, and I was all he got. So it was very complicated. And that's why we're holding on to each other so bad, you know, and we were such good
Mhm.
friends and everything. But I said, you know, I thought, let life and fate just decide whatever's going on, and I just
Mhm.
let go. I truly let go, because damn, I had nothing. So I came to Tenerife, and
Mhm.
yeah, and obviously he did come to Tenerife after a few weeks, but you know, relationship ended, everything, and I stayed in Tenerife up to now, almost 6 years.
Yeah.
Can you
Wow.
imagine? And it
Yes.
was a very hard decision. It was a very hard
Mhm.
decision, but I had to, you know, when sometimes you just have to let go, because
Yes.
holding on to things like,
Yes.
mm, sometimes you just have to say, you know what, F off,
Yeah.
whatever
And
happens,
and
happens.
when you let go, you allow the universe to bring something else into your life. That's what we
Exactly.
forget. Because when we're holding on to this person, to this job, to this life, to this
Mhm.
city, we're not allowing for the universe to take us somewhere where we're supposed to be, where we can like function more and be happier.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so, this is so true. I had to let go of this.
Yeah.
Now I see it clearly. And I don't know, I was guided, I think,
Mhm.
during the moments, because I wasn't, you know, I was going through a very tough time. I think I was
Mhm.
really guided, because it's
Mhm.
not like I knew Tenerife, or, you know, I just heard a thing or two. And then I
Mhm.
arrived here and I felt that I was supposed to be here. It's so freaking weird.
Mhm.
And I stayed, and here I am.
Mhm. Yeah. I love that.
Ah,
Good.
crazy.
So my third one relates to your first one. It's about a job. So this is
Mhm.
my very first job as a lawyer. I was working for this woman in her home. So what she had done is she set up she'd taken one room in her condo and had put two desks and two computers where I and the secretary, the assistant worked. And then she worked on the dining room table. And so I was so excited just to get my first job because back then the economy was kind of down. It was very difficult to find the job, especially when you're first out of law school and you don't have any contacts in the city. So she was doing family law, which meant divorces and custody issues. And I felt really bad for her because she didn't have like a big office and she didn't have the money coming in like big offices do. So she wasn't always able to pay me. So she would be late with paying me like 1 week, 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. In the meantime, though, she's ordering new boots that are being delivered to her home. So like I remember one day I
I
was there, got 6 new boots ordered to her house. And so to me, that was like, okay, well, you're not paying me, but you're getting 6 boots delivered. Obviously, you have the money to buy all these boots to wear, but you don't have the money to pay me. That's not okay. So I had gone off to India and I had come back, and she was very upset because an exhibit hadn't been finished. And there's like things that were building up. I remember my tax advisor that I was talking to, she's like, are you sure you want to work for her? Because she was treating me as a 1099, like an independent contractor.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, she was treating me like an employee because I was working in her home. She was telling me which hours to work. She was giving me the work to work on. And this was also, I think, when one of the elections was going on. So, like one day, instead of working, she was watching the general election and the debate, and then she wanted me to come in on a Saturday to work on a Saturday. Like just so, like I had to take time out of my schedule to go in on a separate day because she wasn't ready to work.
Wow.
And I remember like so things were just building up like with this whole thing of like of being away in India and her being upset and then me being upset for her not paying me. And so she called me down to the Starbucks, which is right next to her house, to have a talk because she didn't want to talk to me in front of the assistant. So I went downstairs and she told me that she wasn't happy with the way that I was billing people. And I said, well, this is the way that you showed me how to bill them. And she's like, well, no, not really. Like, this is not right. And then she wanted to cut my hours. So she wanted to cut my hours in half of all the work I'd already done for the month.
Come
And I was
on.
brave enough and I said, no, that's not okay. Now you bring this to my attention. That's fine. Going forward, we can do that. But I've already done the work. So I need to be paid for the work that I've done the way that we agreed. And she was like, okay, but going forward, you're going to bill people this way. And I said, okay, fine. That's fine. Not a problem. So I was already upset. I was like calling all my friends. I wanted to quit. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a job lined up. I was really scared because it was like winter. I think it was Oh, it was March, yeah. But I told my friend, because she had just come to visit, I was like, if I have to work there one more day, I might just kill myself because it's so miserable. And to
God.
get there, like, because she didn't live in the city, she lived outside of the city, I would have to take one bus, then a subway, then another bus, then the train every single day to get to her house, which would take an hour and 40 minutes. So if for some
Whoa.
reason the bus or the train was late, I would miss the train, the big train that I would have to take out to her. So sometimes I would have to spend an hour sitting in the coffee shop just waiting for the next train. So every day I traveled an hour and a half to her house and an hour and a half back. And sometimes I would be so upset leaving her job, I would go and I would do yoga in my work clothes. I would go do hot yoga in my work clothes because I was so upset that I just needed to go do something to let all this like just get out of my head because it was so miserable.
My God.
So she told me when we were in the shop that she's like, maybe you need to go back to law school to learn that this is not how you build people. And I was like, it was very rude. It was very condescending. She was very mean. She once told a client to shut the hell up in court. So
Come
she was
on.
not the nicest person ever. And she had a client leave her in court before because she didn't want to like ride home with her because she told her to shut the H up. And I don't ever remember in my life telling somebody to shut the hell up, like, because that you just don't do that to people. Like, you would maybe say that to your worst enemy, but not to your friend, and certainly not to your client. So I come in on Monday. It's Monday. My friend has left, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll quit today, and I'll give because my contract said I had to give her 3 weeks notice. So I'm talking to the assistant in the room, and we're talking like hushed voices, and she like walks by us, and she thinks we're talking about her, which we were not. So, I'm like, I'm gonna quit today. I can't do this. And the assistant was begging me, like, don't do it. I talked to my husband. He said you shouldn't quit your job without having something else lined up. And I was like, I can't handle this anymore. Like, I can't. And mind
Yeah.
you, she had been late in paying me for 1 month. So for 1 month, she did not pay me for the work I had done. So I waited over the weekend until she finally transferred all the money to me. And I didn't want to work anymore because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that she was not going to pay me. So I was about to quit, and she walks in and she puts like a memo in my chair and like a sheet of paper. And the memo said that effective today, your old contract is terminated.
And you're like, yes, yes.
Exactly, exactly. You get it because you know what that means.
Woo!
So she says, effective today, your old contract is terminated, and here's the new contract with a pay reduction. So she had given me a new contract with a pay reduction. She wanted me to sign the new contract. And I was just saying, thank you to God, thank you to the universe, thank you for all powers that be, because now I don't have to give you notice because we don't have a contract anymore because you just fired me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you just eliminated my contract. So I go out into the office and I say, do you want me to leave now? And she says, what? I was like, well, you just terminated my contract. She goes, yeah, but I offered you a new one. And I said to her, yes, but I didn't accept your new one. And what I was thinking in my head is somebody needs to go back to law school, and it's you, because you don't know how contract law works. There was an offer, but there was no acceptance. So we don't have a contract.
Even I know how it works, but I'm not a lawyer.
So we don't have a contract because I didn't accept your new contract. And she goes, what? She goes, do you have a job? And I said, no, I don't. And she was like, okay. And she's like, you can go finish up what you're doing and leave. And then she went and she cried in her room.
I.
So she was upset because she never in a million years expected me to quit my job because she was a
Ah.
bully. She bullied her clients. She bullied opposing attorneys. She bullied like her assistant. She's made her assistant cry. I remember my assistant, the one that we used to work with, she would like sometimes cry because of how mean she was to her. And I was not, so I don't think she expected someone like me to be like, no, I'm not accepting your new contract.
Yeah.
And I just went and I finished up what I did. And at noon, so I wasn't even there for 2 hours, I walked back to the train, and it was the best feeling in the entire world. Like, even though I knew I didn't have a job lined up and I was terrified and I was scared, I didn't know I was going to pay rent, and I was going to have to live off my savings, it was the best feeling ever to walk away from a bully, from a mean person, because that was making me uncomfortable working that kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember once when she was like trying to set up her away message on her computer and it wasn't working, and she called the computer guy and she was like angry with him and upset with him. The guy on the phone asked me like, what is her problem? So
Yeah.
like, to work in that kind of environment, or like if I would go to court, they would allow me the extra allowances, and they say, okay, I'm going to give you 30 days only because it's you and it's not your boss. If your boss had been here, I would have said no, but because I like you, I'll give you this. So you already knew what kind of reputation that she had, and I didn't want to be associated with it. I didn't want people to think that I was the same way.
Yeah. And I mean, what did she think that everybody was just like do
Yes,
nothing and just stand
she
and
thought that
just
I was this like meek person that was never going to stand up to her, that was going to continue to work there, because every time she called me in on the weekend, I had gone, and each time that she was late with the payment, I didn't get upset. I didn't quit my job, and so she just, but she taught me so many valuable things. She taught me that like you have to stand up to your boss when something is not right. You have to
yes.
stand up when you're not getting paid. You have to stand up because you've earned that money. That is your money that you've earned. Who is going to
Mhm.
go work for free? No one. So you have to like stand up for yourself and say, I'm not taking this anymore. And if you don't pay me, I'm not coming to work. So like she really made me so much stronger of a person.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. And I hope that she learned that people do have limits, and like
Yeah,
you cannot treat people like this and then expect that they stay along. You know that they will stay with
exactly.
you. Like, come on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I don't like this woman. This
No.
woman. You were telling me I was feeling kind of, like in my heart, I was feeling, I don't
Yeah.
like this. This bad, sorry,
But
woman.
then that kind of energy like rubs off on you and you start feeling that way
Yes.
too.
Yeah. And you start feeling, I remember when I was working with some crazy people, and I was feeling anxious every day going to work because I knew that someone was going to tell me something, and that
Yes.
that nothing that I did was right, and even though I was doing my best, and this is just like a horrible feeling. And as we spoke on the episode on working and purpose, like
Mhm.
we spend a lot of time at work.
Mhm.
Some of us spend 8 hours or more at
Yeah.
work.
Or
Like,
more. Exactly.
with what kind of people are we spending our time with? Is it worth it?
Exactly.
Because I learned that you can always find a shitty job.
Yes.
Like, it's
Yes, you can.
always available. I don't know who said it. This is not mine. Someone said it, and I was like, oh my god, I love this. It's true. You can
Yeah.
always get a shitty job. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm cursing. Sorry.
And it's
Uh,
okay. For people that are listening, ask yourself, are you feeling anxious when you're going to work? Like when you wake up, are you anxious about the day? That should be a clear sign for you that maybe something needs to change. I'm not telling you to go quit your job, no, because we're in a pandemic right now and COVID and everything. Some people are just lucky to have their job. But ask yourself, like, is this the life you want to live? And maybe take this time to start looking for something else. Like my
yeah.
friend just moved states and she just found a job during all of this. So if she can find a job, I'm sure like just get it out there. Start telling people that you're looking. Start putting it out
Hmm.
into the universe. Start sending your
Hmm.
resume out. Start like the ball rolling because then something will come along.
Yeah, and watch our episode on work because we give
Yes.
a lot of good advice that maybe you can benefit from. I
Mhm.
would watch that episode because I think it's very valid. We gave a lot of
Mhm.
like nice,
We did.
good advice and from our experience and everything.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's so good that you touched the pandemic because right now people are feeling like that you cannot do nothing
Mhm.
and that's
Mhm.
that's it, it's a pandemic and it's over. And this is not necessarily true. It's harder, yes,
Exactly.
it is harder, but it doesn't mean that you have to stay where you are. It just means
Yeah.
that you have to be more careful, more thoughtful, and
Mhm.
maybe work a little bit harder to find
Yeah.
good stuff. But yeah,
It's true. So that was my
so
third one.
that was your third one.
That was my
Love
third
it.
one. It was just her being like, "You don't know contract law. I'm not accepting your contract. I'm done," and walking out. And that elevator ride down was amazing. The walk to the train was amazing. It just everything was just great.
Ah, you know what? I just remember that song like, this is the sound of freedom. Do you know this song, The Sound of Freedom? I'm gonna send it. Maybe I don't know. I
No,
cannot. I cannot play it here
yes,
because
send it
we
to
could be
me.
sued or something. But I'll send it to you.
Yes.
And people at home, you can just look for it. David Guetta, I think. Okay, so my third one is also job related, job and purpose related. So I was working in a job where I was okay with it, not very happy, not dissatisfied. I had a crazy schedule, but I knew that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to dedicate myself more to yoga. I wanted to, do what we're doing now. And then an opportunity came to go and substitute someone for a couple of weeks. So since I am kind of a smart person, I thought, you know what, let me quit this job and do this substitution work for a couple of weeks. Then they will have to fire me, and here I am again, unemployed, and I can actually benefit from some government pays and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, so should I quit this job? And, because the job was more secure than ever, I could be there right now. you know, I know that some of my colleagues are there. I had a contract for life. But I knew that I was getting too comfortable, and I knew that I had to do something different. And so people were like, "Are you sure the job is just for 2 weeks?" And then I was going to be receiving like money from the government, but like for 6 months only. The window of time was it was hard, but I was like, I'm gonna take the risk. I don't care. I'm gonna take the risk. So I said F off to the other job and to to whatever you are always supposed to do. Stay safe, don't move. If you have something, just stay with it. Be grateful,
Yeah.
which I love gratitude, but like sometimes you are so grateful that you don't move and you don't evolve. Right. So I said F off for all of those things, and I took the job. And funny story, I took the job, stayed there for 3 weeks, and then stayed there for a month or two. And then the person came back, right? The person came back, and I'm unemployed. I go and I file my thingies to get the money and whatever. And I'm home. I'm working on yoga. I'm working on coaching, training, and everything. And it was great because I had some months to really work on building whatever I want to build right now. And funny story, the person went away, just quit the job because she had a different thing to do. So they rehired me. And at the beginning, I was doubting a little bit about it because I was like, let's go all in, blah, blah, blah. I was like, but then I said, you know what, let me take this job. Let me do things slowly, but let me do things without worrying about the money. Let me just serve and not worry about the money. So I took the job, and thank God, because now we are living with the pandemic, and we just spoke about like how hard it is to find a freaking job right now. And I am just so grateful that my life is more or less the same as it was before. Because I set F off and took a risk. I am actually more secure, more safe.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You think that you are going to take risks and you are going to be, there's no floor, everything is falling apart. But in reality, you take this step and you take the risk, and all of a sudden you are safer than you were.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So that was my third one.
Yeah. Yay. Thank you for sharing.
Oh,
I think a lot of ours related to work because we spend so much time at work. And I see some of the same common themes of like having to stand up for ourselves, like taking back like what was ours, like our dignity. And that means so much. And not having to wake up in the morning and be anxious about how is the day going to turn out.
Yeah. And it's such a big part of our lives. I mean, you don't have to love and exude love for what you do, but you should at least feel like safe and okay with what you are doing. And it has to go along your values. We do have a lot of other F off situations, but yeah, they're related to that. They're related to standing up for ourselves. And so good that we get to do this in all areas of our lives. And I think that's it. I think we said it all today.
So we want to hear from our audience. When was the last time that you said F off by an action that you committed? What happened and what was the result? Tell us what happened.
Yeah, and that's it. Thank you for watching if you are on YouTube. Thank you for listening if you are in a podcast platform. We really appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.